Okay, welcome everyone to the deep dive.
Hi there.
Today, we're going to plunge into some really interesting transfer news from the football world, specifically Chelsea.
Yeah, looking at Chelsea using a recent Sky Sports report as our source material here.
Exactly, and the mission really is to unpack what this source tells us about two potential moves.
You've got Jadon Sancho, who's already there on loan,
Right.
and then Liam Delap, a potential new signing.
And it's a great chance, I think, using this source to get into the kind of the complexities of transfers, the negotiations, why players move.
Yeah, it's not always straightforward, is it? All the different factors.
Definitely not. And
Yeah.
we'll try to sort of forecast a bit based purely on what Sky Sports are reporting here. No outside info, just the source.
Sounds good. A proper deep dive into the facts presented.
Okay, let's tackle Sancho first, because this feels complex. The main thing from the source. Chelsea you're talking to is representatives.
Yes, talks are happening. And the context is, well, he came on loan from Manchester United last August.
But it wasn't just a simple loan, was it? There's a big financial element attached.
There is. According to the report, Chelsea have this $25 million obligation to buy him permanently.
Which is a lot of money. But, and this is the twist, they apparently have an out.
They do. The source says they can get out of that £25 million deal if they pay Manchester United a $5 million penalty instead.
Wow. Okay, so 25 million versus 5 million pounds. That's a pretty stark difference.
It immediately tells you there's more going on here than just, do we want the player?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
His background at United, they paid, what, 73 million pound for him?
Yeah, back in 2021 from Dortmund. Huge fee.
And he's still got a year left on a massive contract there, the source says. Like, up to 300,000 pounds a week, plus an option for another year.
Exactly. And that huge contract seems to be the sticking point right now.
So the talks are basically about new contract terms.
That's what the source points to. Chelsea want him, yes, but they need terms that fit their wage structure.
Right, and the report is quite specific about Chelsea's approach here.
They like long contracts, lower base salary, but heavily incentivized, performance bonuses, that kind of thing.
Which is, well, the opposite of the massive base wage he's presumably on at United.
Precisely. So you've got this real tension. The club wants the player. He seems to be doing well for them.
We'll get to his stats in a sec.
But they can't, or maybe won't, just match those existing wages. It's that classic dilemma, isn't it?
It really is. Balancing wanting a top player versus keeping your wage bill sustainable and fair internally.
How do you manage that? It's a constant tightrope walk for clubs.
And talking of performance, the source notes he scored in the Conference League final win.
Yeah, the 4-1 win over Real Betis. He got the third goal.
And that was his 5th goal this season, plus 10 assists.
Across all competitions, yeah. So numerically, he's contributed. Definitely produced for them.
And the source also threw in this interesting bit about reader or listener opinion.
Yeah, the poll.
Said something like over 10,000 people voted that Sancho should rejoin Chelsea next season.
So public opinion, at least among their audience, seems pretty clear. They want him to stay.
But wanting him and making it happen financially are two different things here, clearly.
Totally. And the forecast, based on this report, it's still up in the air.
Right.
Path 1, no agreement on terms. He potentially goes back to Manchester United. Path 2, they do agree terms.
Which would mean presumably lower terms aligned with Chelsea's structure.
Exactly. Then he stays. It all seems to hinge on that contract renegotiation.
Okay, so that's Sancho. Complex, depends on the money. But then there's this other deal the source mentions, Liam Delap.
Yeah, the Ipswich striker. And this one sounds, well, maybe a bit more straightforward on the face of it.
How so?
The report says Chelsea have agreed a deal to sign him. Key point. They're meeting his £30 million release clause.
A release clause.
Yeah.
So that takes away a lot of the usual negotiation hassle, right?
Pretty much. The fee is set. It became active because Ipswich got relegated.
30 million. Okay. And next steps.
Personal terms still need discussion, but the source suggests that's expected to be more of a formality before his medical.
So this one feels like it's probably going to happen.
Seems much closer, yeah. But what's really fascinating, according to the source, is the why. Why Delap is choosing Chelsea.
Okay. What's the story there?
Well, the report explicitly says Champions League football was not the main driver for him.
Really?
Yeah.
That is surprising. You usually assume that's top of the list for ambitious young players.
Me too. But the source lists his reasons as Chelsea's style of play.
Okay.
The young squad they have, the feeling he'll get opportunities to play.
Makes sense.
The idea they can challenge for trophies together for like years to come,
Yeah.
a long-term thing.
Right, buying into the project.
And also relationships he already has with people at the club.
Huh. So it's a much broader picture than just, are they in the top European competition next season?
Exactly. And they add this little detail. Apparently he watched that Conference League final win.
Ah, the one Sancho scored in.
Yeah. And was impressed, particularly by the second half.
So he's looking at the team, the energy, the potential.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And connecting the dots, this DLAP signing, especially paying £30 million for a player whose team just went down.
Yeah, it's a statement signing in its own way.
It really signals Chelsea's strategy, doesn't it? Investing big in young talent, selling a vision about the future, the culture, playing time.
Not just relying on the immediate allure of, say, the Champions League anthem.
Right. It's an investment in potential and a specific kind of squad building.
So we've got these two things happening just as the transfer window gets going. The source mentions the dates, early June, then the main window, mid-June to September.
Yeah, the market's opening up. And putting them side by side is interesting.
How so?
Well, you've got the Sancho situation, established player, big wages, complex negotiation, completely hung up on restructuring that contract.
A real financial puzzle, like you said.
Yeah. And then you contrast that with DLAP. Young player, release clause met, seemingly motivated by the long-term project and club vision. Looks more straightforward, strategy-led.
So it's not just one type of transfer target, is it? It's a mixed approach.
Seems like it. Trying to bring in proven quality, but on their terms financially.
While also betting big on youth and selling that future vision, it sends a kind of multifaceted signal about how they're building.
Definitely. Shows the different tools and strategies clubs use in the market.
Okay, so just to sort of wrap up the core points from this deep dive into the Sky Sports report.
Go for it.
We've seen the Jadon Sancho deal is basically a tightrope walk. It all comes down to whether they can agree a new contract that fits Chelsea's wage policy.
Yeah, big if there hinges on the restructure.
And then that contrasts quite sharply with Liam Delap, seems more direct, driven by strategy, meeting a release clause, with the player apparently buying into the long-term vision.
Two very different scenarios, highlighting the different levers a club can pull.
And looking at both, you really get a feel for the wider picture, don't you? All the things that influence transfers.
Oh, yeah. Money, contracts, strategy, player ambition, relationships. It's all in the mix.
Absolutely. It's it's never simple. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on as this transfer window really gets going. Based on what we've unpacked from this source today, which type of transfer do you think is ultimately more critical for a club's long-term success? Is it successfully restructuring a deal for an established high-wage star like Sancho? Or is it investing significantly in young talent based on a clear club vision, like the Delap move seems to be?
Yeah, which one pays off more in the long run? Fixing the present or building the future? Something to think about.